Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Kabbalah, Acharei Kedoshim. We are live at my house. Thank you, everyone, for joining in person. If you're watching or listening to the recording, you're the best. I'm honored that you're here with me. What?
Got a cleaning lady for us.
Yes. This is actually the first class I've ever done in 7. I've been teaching this year for 7 years, and I've never done a class in Acharei. So I had nothing. I had to start from scratch. I don't know why. It must be Lag BaOmer or Parshas Iyar. Don't know why. Never. I found nothing. So we have a brand new, fresh class. Acharei Kedoshim are often read together. And I'll give a little bit of a background to Acharei Kedoshim. Acharei means after the passing of, after the death of the sons of Aaron. Now Aaron is being instructed in the laws of the big day kahuna, of the one day a year he's supposed to re-enter the space where his sons passed away, where his sons' lives were taken. And that's what the Acharei is. We're going to speak a little bit about the spiritual concept of what it means after the passing. And then the next parsha, Kedoshim, is like full of chukim, full of laws between man and his fellow. Kedoshim begins with a verse. I should have brought my chumash. Let me just grab it. We'll grab it for me, Pam. You see the Gutnick set over there? Sorry, I'll get it in one sec. It'll be easier for me to just get it. I know which one I'm looking for. Okay, this is my favorite chumash set. Anyone have it? I usually prepare from this. Okay, so this is my favorite chumash.
I have that.
Okay, so Acharei, you have this? It's a great chumash.
I got it as a gift for doing
The best.
I don't need it. I know it by heart.
Wow. What?
It's the Lubavitch.
It's the Chabad one, but it has like English, like Torah thoughts in it. It's really good. So Parshas Kedoshim begins with Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe Leimar, Daber al kol adat bnei Yisrael, va'amarta aleim Kedoshim tiyu. Kedoshim means holy you should be, right? Sanctified you should be. Ki kadosh ani. Why should you be holy? Because I am holy, and you are made in my image, and you have God. You are house holiness within me. You have a piece of Hashem inside of you, and therefore all the mitzvahs I'm about to tell you are based on this concept that you should sanctify yourself and be holy. Now, there's a lot to understand there. What is this command to be holy? What does that mean? Like, should we be angels? Should we be singing Hallelujah all day? What does it mean, be holy? Ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem. So that is the command. Now, this parsha of Kedoshim, Vayikra Yotes, is one of the very fundamental parshio in the Torah. It holds a lot of the fundamental laws, like V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, the most central law in the Torah, don't judge a fellow as yourself. It begins with the mandate to be holy, and then it begins with a lot of laws between judging another person, how a judge should judge another person, how to love another person, how to treat your fellow, not to put a stumbling block before another person, not to cheat, not to steal. Very unique laws. Vayikra, this chapter, Vayikra Yotes, is quoted a lot, extensively. There's a lot of chapters. How many mitzvahs are in it? A lot. In Acharei, there's 2 positive mitzvahs and 26 negative mitzvahs. And in Kedoshim, there's 13 positive mitzvahs and 38 of the mitzvahs in this one to honor your father and mother, to fear your father and mother, the laws of the sacrifices, to have not to cheat when you're measuring, not to pervert justice. A lot about justice, not to stand idly. Lo tam al dam recha. If you see another person suffering, not to stand idly by, not to hate another person, not to rebuke another person, not to embarrass another Jew, not to take revenge, not to bear a grudge. And then there are the laws towards the end of incest, the laws of adultery and forbidden relations. Now, if you go back to Acharei, I'll start with this. There's a little bit about like the overarching, because we didn't really have, in Parsha Shmini, we learned about the death of the sons of Aaron. And one of the key Hasidic concepts that we learned from this is that their kavana, their intention and their sin, what it says literally in the Torah is Acharei Mos. So let's start in this week's Parsha, Acharei Mos this week. Acharei Mos Shnei Bnei Aaron. What was their sin? After the passing, Vayadaber Hashem Moshe. When did Hashem speak to Moshe? After the passing of Shnei Bnei Aaron, Bikirvasam Lifnei Hashem Vayamusu. When they became close to God and they died. And so the pasuk clearly tells us basically what Chassidut says, that although there were many different reasons of what they did wrong, they weren't in the right attire, they brought a sacrifice that wasn't meant to be, they were drunk. The main reason that they died was that they came too close to God. They were too exposed. They came into the Kodesh Kodashim, the holiest space. Their souls, their body couldn't handle that amount of intense holiness. And they came to Kalot HaNefesh, which is an experience that when the soul gets too close to the fire, it experiences expiration. It gets so consumed in godliness that the soul can no longer remain in the body, and it goes right back up to its source. And the Chabad Rebbeim it was known that when they would say a mimer, when they would say only on very holy days of the year, they would speak a mimer, which is different than a sicha. Sicha is a talk, a dvar Torah, a discourse. And a mimer, they said that it was like God speaking through their mouth. They were saying like the deepest secrets of Torah. And because they were ascending to such high levels with their soul, they would be holding on to the table so that their souls would stay in their body. And so they had this out-of-body experience where their souls came too close. They went into the Kodesh Kodashim. It was too much holiness. And therefore, they kirvasam lifnei Hashem. From their closeness to God, they died. And we learn a positive and negative from this experience. The Rebbe says the positive, why are we learning about this in the Torah? Telling us that we should all learn from the sons of Aaron to want to be close to Hashem, to yearn to be one with God, to yearn to escape the trappings of this world. But which basically means in our language to want to be holy, to want to transcend, to want to have highs in spirituality, to want to learn something amazing, to want to have this experience of tefillah and a beautiful shul, this live singing and dancing and have that elevation. That's the transcendence. But that we're not here in this world to transcend the world. We're here, bal korcha tachai, we're forced to be, we're put in this world to have those highs, to yearn for Hashem, but ultimately to have what we call in Chassidut, the shuv. So the ratzoi, the desire to ascend, the desire to aspire, to feel the holiness is a good pursuit. But afterwards we have to tell ourselves, but I have to bring that back down into the physical world, because the ultimate reason, the whole reason for Hashem creating me and the entire world is not to transcend the materialism of my life, not to transcend the day-to-day, to always be floaty, to be in a high all the time, to be praying and learning the whole day, but it's actually to make this world, as dark as it seems, to make my body, my struggles, my baggage, my life challenges into a space for Hashem. That is where I meet God the most. And so Nadav Nevi'u's mistake was, the Rebbe says, while their desire, passion came from the holiest place, their mistake was forgetting what Hashem needed from them. That Hashem created them for the purpose of not transcending and leaving the world to unite with God all the time, to be on a high, so to speak, but rather to specifically engage with the world. And that to specifically to make a home. We're here in Chassidut, it says over and over again, the purpose of Hashem making the world, of creating us, creating the Torah, creating the entire cosmos, trillions of planets, is for us to make this materialistic space a place where God can be, to reveal the godliness in every single physical object that we encounter, to use not to transcend materialism. And we're very extreme people. Either, at least for myself, there's like a push to embrace materialism and indulge and want more and more beautiful things and to indulge in materialism until it overtakes me, or it's too much for me, so I want to just separate from it. Okay, I'll just be spiritual, I'll go to shul, I'll be disengaged from the materialistic world, because the balance is the hardest thing. But that's what we're here for, not to let materialism overtake us and take over our lives, because then we've lost the battle, and not to transcend from it either, and not to detach from the materialism and just be involved in holiness all day and be in the Beit HaMikdash or learning shiurim all day. And when it comes to the physical things we need to be involved with, being no, I'm busy learning. There's a story of the Baal Shem Tov that he went to visit a parush. In those days, there was a recluse. He went to a village, and there was a man who lived alone in a hut. He didn't talk to anyone. He just learned Torah, davened all day. And at the end of the day, at night, he would break his fast and have water and bread. And even when the Baal Shem Tov came to talk to him, he looked like a simple man, and he wouldn't even talk to him because he was detached. He was a hermit, so to speak, detached from the physical world. It was a Jew. And the Baal Shem Tov told him, why are you depriving Hashem of his parnasa? And he said, what do you mean? And he said, Hashem, it says, Va'ata kadosh, Hashem, you are removed from the world. Kadosh again means Yoshev Tehilot Yisrael. What brings you back? You're removed from where do you sit and rest? What brings the Shekhinah into this world? Tehilot Yisrael, the praises of the Jewish people. When we enjoy the abundance Hashem gave us, the brachos of love, of relationships, of children, of the food, of the enjoyment, and we praise Hashem for all the goodness He gave us, that's what Hashem's parnasa is. That's Hashem's sustenance. That's where Yoshev Tehilot Yisrael, where does Hashem sit and is the Shekhinah drawn down to rest in this world? How does Hashem rest? Only through our praises for all of the material things. Only when we bring Hashem's praise into all the wonderful blessings He gave us materially in our lives. And so by not enjoying the world and praising Hashem for it, you're depriving Hashem of His parnasa. He doesn't need you to learn Torah and detach from the world. He has angels for that. You're here in this world because the ultimate where Hashem gets his ultimate desire is through drawing him into the physical world. And so that's the overarching theme of one of the overarching themes of Acharei Kedoshim. What happens after Kadosh, right? We want to be Kadosh. We want to elevate. We want to transcend. We want to reach to a higher space of connection. We want to be above the whole, the distinction, the separation of our lives, the disunity, all the struggles and being stuck in like the rat race, right? We want to transcend it, but the purpose is for the Acharei. The purpose of transcendence of the Kadosh, of Kedoshim to you, is for what happens after the holiness. The holiness is not just to be holy and then stay holy forever, like the monk or the hermit, and it's not to be holy and then go back to your life the way you were before either. Because a lot of times there's that separation. So I'm holy, I'm transcendent, I had this high, it was Yom Kippur, it was shul, I had this beautiful tefillah, and then I come home and I yell at my kids, right? The holiness is to permeate, is what happens Acharei Kedoshim. The parsha is Acharei Kedoshim. What do you do with the holiness? Are you there to just transcend from the world or just forget about it? Where the holiness is for the intention of drying it down and allowing it to permeate the lowest parts of our existence. And it's like seen as a conflict. Like, I don't want to bring God into, we always share this in the shiur, like Hashem doesn't want to be in those places. That's not places for God. There's my holy life, my Jewish life. And then there's my regular life, the gray area, most of what I do, eat, drink, sleep, right? Marriage, relationships, all of those things. And Hashem's like, no, that's the whole reason I created you, to bring the holiness into those spaces specifically. And we see this in the Parshios where Acharei begins with the law of the commandment to Aaron of when he enters the Kodesh Kodashim on the holiest day of the year. It's the laws of Aaron of which clothes he can enter, which clothes he can wear when he goes into the Kodesh Kodashim, only on Yom Kippur. So it starts with the holiest day of the year. And then how does Acharei Mos continue? It ends with the laws of a person shouldn't marry his sister. It's like from one extreme to the next, from the holiest to the lowest steps of human perverseness, right? Let me just open my. Oh, here we go. The lowest, most human areas of our lives. So we start from the highest and go to like the sexual urges. And then if we turn to Kedoshim, the next parsha, we see the exact same thing. The parsha begins with Kedoshim to you, be holy, which means to go to the highest level of holiness beyond even the mitzvot, to reach that we should have the holiness elevate us. We should be on the highest level of Kedusha, beyond that the Rambam says that a person could keep all the laws in the Torah and still be a degenerate in the olden day terms, a corrupt person. I was like, who uses the word degenerate anymore? He's a wicked, and inside he's awful, he's rotten. And he keeps all the checklists. Like I've shared once the story about the joke I heard from Rabbi Waiwai, I read from Rabbi Waiwai Jacobson about a stingy beggar came knocking on the door of a wealthy man, begging him for food. He's about to die. And he's like, we don't let people like you in our house. And he's begging him. So he takes a smelly piece of fish from the garbage. He gives it to the poor man. He eats it and he walks down the street and he collapses. They take him to the hospital and he tells his wife, this man, that the man I fed in our home is ill. I have to go visit him in the hospital. And then he comes home and he says, I have to go visit him in the hospital. he died. I have to go to his levaya. And then he says, and now I have to go do the mitzvah of Nicham Avelim. And he comes home from Nicham Avelim singing, and his wife says, I don't understand, why are you so happy from Nicham Avelim? He says, could you imagine with one smelly piece of fish, I was able to do 4 mitzvahs. I was able to, it's a joke, I was able to have Achnasat Orchim, Bikor Cholim, Halvayat Hametz, and Nicham Avelim. And he's saying that you could do all the checklists of the right things, but if it doesn't permeate you into your essence, if it hasn't elevated you and you haven't allowed it to affect you, it's nothing. And that's what Kedoshim, this is a detour, I'm going to go back to the main point, but the going back to the idea is that Kedoshim begins with a mandate to be even beyond all the mitzvos, to also elevate ourselves. And that's what Sfiras Omer is. We're doing that. Kedoshim is almost always read in Sfirat Omer, I think always. And in Sfirat Omer is when we're called upon ourselves beyond the mitzvos to actually work on our midos. And every week of Sfiras Omer, we're working on our character, on our chesed, on our compassion in week 1, on our boundaries and self-restraint, restricting ourselves from doing everything we want and restraining ourselves from saying everything we want to say, on putting boundaries within ourselves and others. And then that's Gvura week. In the 3rd week of Tiferet, we're working on compassion, on empathy, on caring, and on harmony and balance between Chesed and Gvura, on balancing our lives. And then in the 4th week of Netzach, now we're in Netzach, right? Netzach is determination, goals, ambition. We're trying to be ambitious and get our goals done and not just stop when things get hard. And Netzach within Netzach today is, anyone know? Thank you, Tiferet. It's finding within Netzach, we can have kindness within our Netzach. Like when I'm ambitious, am I doing it with kindness? When I'm ambitious, do I have boundaries to stop when I need my family or others need me, right? We can, within Netzach, we're working on our midos way beyond just the Torah mitzvos. The Torah calls upon ourselves specifically in Sefiras Omer to light ourselves up. Sefira comes from to shine. We're shining ourselves to be kadosh. And so we think like we're transcending, we're elevating, I'm becoming such a good person. Within Netzach, Tiferet Netzach is finding balance finding compassion and empathy and balance within my ambition, within my drive, right? And then we have Netzach of Netzach, like really pushing ourselves when things are tough to overcome all obstacles. L'chatchila riber, like the fourth Rebbe would say, when there's an obstacle, not to let it be in your way, to know that you have Hashem on your side and you could push through whatever it is and to push through whatever it is that's blocking you and keep going towards your goal, even if there's an ocean in front of you. And it's so on. And then we have the week of Hod, when we're working on our humility, on our surrender, like you guys were speaking about surrender, on Hoda'ah, on our gratitude to Hashem. We're incorporating and not just doing the mitzvahs, but I want to be grateful to Hashem, the praise. Ata Kadosh Yoshev Tilos Yisrael. I want to surrender to Hashem. I want to be devoted to my cause and follow through. And then we have Yesod, the week of Yesod, where we're working on our deep bonding, on being connected, on being present in whatever it is that I'm doing and being 100% there and bonding deeply to those who I love and to Hashem and to my neshama and to being within. And then the last week of Malchus, we're working on a lot. Malchus is our speech. Malchus is our power of creation, our power of receiving, of being a makabel, of being a space where it receives from everything else. It's the womb. It's our ability to receive everything else, to have space for others, to hold space, and then to create new life. It's our power of creativity. It's our power of majesty, of confidence, of leadership. It's a lot. And so we're working on Malchus is like, lifelong avoda. And so we're ascending in this time of Kedoshim to be their highest self. And Kedoshim also ends with the laws of forbidden relations. So we see like from one end to the other end, right? We go from like to be the highest person and don't sleep with your brother, right? What's the connection? And we learn that that's what the essence of Acharei Kedoshim is. That Acharei, it's what happens after the holiness. The point of holiness is not just to be a great person, to ascend, to be in love, to be in this high, to come up a moment of high, and then either to stay there or go back and be a regular person. The purpose of Kedoshim to you, the purpose of Yom Kippur, is what happens achrei. It's what happens afterwards. It's what do I do with the holiness? It's the purpose of the holiness is to reflect in the most human and low areas of our lives. And that's why throughout this parsha, we'll learn about not eating bugs, not eating blood, the most lowest places. And Hashem's like, yes, that is, I want that. And I teach kalas or married women tarat mishpacha. And one of the big questions is like, why does God care like what I do in my bedroom? Or even more than that, like sexuality and our sexual urges are so animalistic. And we learn in a deeper level, we know that if Hashem gave us these urges and created us with them, then they're godly. And we can utilize rather than all our instinctual urges, we can either use them for indulgence or we can recognize that at their core, they're a godly gift. They're something that can be utilized with every single physical, materialistic thing in our life to, rather than let it overtake us and control us, I can actually utilize it to bring Hashem into that space. And I do that by elevating the spark of God, by seeing the purpose of it, by using it for Hashem's intention, by thanking Hashem, by praising Hashem, by being cognizant of Hashem. And every single physical thing in my life, I'm here not to transcend from or have like in sexuality to, like as they thought in the olden days, what's abstinence? To abstain because it's such a vulgar physical thing. Hashem is like, no, that's the most godly thing you can do. Bring Hashem into that space. Bring God into that space. When you're loving your spouse, you are doing the most godly act you can do. You're creating a life. What greater way than to do it on Hashem's terms? When you're having a loving relationship with your spouse, you're being the most godly in that moment. Shechina is there. That is where the Shechina is. And you're like, no, Shechina doesn't want to be there, right? That's so physical. And you're like, no, that is the bedroom is your Kodesh HaKadashim. And it's so counterintuitive. It's such a physical space. And Hashem is like, literally, that's the Kodesh Kadashim now. It's the holiest space because when a husband and wife love each other, God is there. That is what God is there for. When there's unity amongst us, we bring Hashem Shechina, L'Shem Yichud. When we have one unity with each other, we draw Hashem there. And so it is with every other physical mitzvah. We look at it and we say, let me reveal the godly spark. There's a godly spark in every single coffee and every pastry and every beautiful walk and every enjoyable Segway ride. And when I can look at, do it too, and I do it with Kavana, I'm there, and I'm constantly, I'll say a pasuk of Torah and reveal the divine intention of that thing. Hashem created that beautiful nature walk, that Segway, that amusement park for the purpose of a Jew to reveal godliness there, to utilize for his enjoyment and to praise Hashem. Ata kadosh yoshev tilot Yisrael. And so when we reveal God, when we say a pasuk, that's why we always memorize pasukim as Chabad kids from 2 years old. So when you're anywhere, you're like, let me bring Hashem here. I'm here because it's been waiting for the beginning of creation for me to enjoy and to say a pasuk of Torah and reveal its intent of creation and to elevate every single part of this world. And so we're not here rather to transcend from the world, but to bring Kedusha into the world. It's not that hard. It's just to be mindful, to be connected to Hashem in that moment, to praise Hashem, to thank Hashem, to say, Mara bu masech Hashem, how wonderful is your world, Hashem. Thank you. Praising Hashem for his beauty in the world, saying a pasuk of Torah, saying a blessing, being present. The Rebbe, I actually recently read something from the Rebbe when he was saying just to be, if you act with more presence, you're automatically you remember the bracha. You're eating and you're remembering to thank Hashem for it. When you're all over the place, which so many of us are, at least I am now, we just forget to be in that moment. And mindfulness allows us to connect with our neshama and to draw Hashem into the most material place in the world, into what we eat, what we do, where we sleep, how we sleep, and the most physical things. And that's really the ultimate purpose of the creation of the world. Any questions?
Good explanation.
Yeah? Or
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. When I was teaching Hebrew school many years ago in America, this parsha about brachot also, like bringing presence and mindfulness, the kids really got it. Like the seventh graders understood that. Like I'd say, when you make a bracha, you're being really present. You're not just like eating like animals. It's such a nice, simple concept that everyone really understands. It's not a lofty,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want, you can bring us back to the first commandment, which is like not to eat, to eat of all the fruits, but not to eat of the apple. So it's again the same thing of what you're saying, taking the thing that's sort of lowly, which is eating, and elevating it by Hashem's commandment.
You brought up a good point. One thing to know is that we don't know how do we know what in this world we can elevate and what not to elevate and how to elevate the world? That's what the Torah is. It's a hara, it's an instruction book. Literally, the Torah is telling you, I'm putting you in this world, and there's things that if you indulge in them, it cannot bring you deep satisfaction. If you indulge in materialism and we don't elevate it, we deep down don't feel that same satisfaction, we feel empty inside. And the Torah says, how do you know which things you can eat and which ones you can't? And that's why the Torah is lashon hara'ah. Hey Michael, it's literally an instruction book of how you can live your life the best way possible to feel deeply rooted, deeply connected in every single thing you do. And so when the Torah says you can't eat something, we keep learning in Tanya, the word asur, you could say here, the word asur means it's bound. I'm saying Regina can move closer. Bound. Asur means atir asurim, that it's bound, it's tied up. That the godly spark of energy is tied and bound in that object, and therefore it can't be. When's your flight? Love you. Thanks for coming.
Nice to see you.
The godly spark of energy is bound in that object, and therefore it cannot be redeemed. It can't be elevated. And so that's what it means. It's asur. Asur doesn't mean, it means you won't get any benefit from it because you can't receive the divine energy and the divine sustenance through that food. And mutar means it's untied. Matir asurim. It means that the divine energy in that is accessible to you. If you can utilize it for a deeper intention, for a higher purpose, if you can see the godliness in it, if you can have the kavanah, that I'm doing this for my body enjoyment, but also for the spiritual spark of Kedusha that's in that object, if you have that kavanah, or if you utilize the energy and the joy that thing brought you for something positive, you can get deep satisfaction from it. And that's what hora'ah is. Hashem is like, I'm telling you the best way to live your marriage. If you follow these laws of nida, you will receive the most benefit from your marriage. And that's what hora'ah, everything, what you can eat, what you can't eat, you'll never receive any satisfaction from a marriage with these people or a relationship with these people. It won't bring you won't be able to elevate Kedusha from those places. There's no spark of godliness that's accessible to you in that space, in that action, and that's what Hawra'ah is. It's literally an instruction book. And so for me, when certain mitzvahs are hard, like Nida, sometimes I think to myself, okay, like if I've given this mashal maybe with Nida, that if I bought like an expensive phone, and it says not to put it in water, even if I don't understand why, I won't put it in water because I don't want to ruin my phone. And if Hashem created me, then even if I don't understand tzniut sometimes or laws of tzniut and why I should do it, and it's hard and it's frustrating, Hashem created me wisely. He's the manufacturer. I'm going to rely on Hashem that He knows better than me the best way to utilize this time in my life. So I'm like, I don't understand it. This is frustrating. I really don't like it, but this is your instructions. You know best what's best for me, and I know this is best for me, even though I don't feel it or see it right now, and it's difficult for me. That was just totally a tangent because I think it was important to what you brought up. Okay, now the core mitzvah of this week's parsha is, I brought you in the sources, is, you tell me, in Vayikra, Yotes, Yodches. Let's read it together. In Parshas Kedoshim. Lo tikom v'lo titar et b'nei amecha v'le'ahavta l're'acha kamocha ani Hashem. Right? You shouldn't take revenge or nekama on your fellow, and you should love l're'acha kamocha ani Hashem. Now, we say this all the time. Rabbi Akiva added to this that zeh klal gadol b'Torah. Right? He said this is it's not just another mitzvah. You often think, okay, it's one of the mitzvahs. I have to also love other people. I do Shabbos kosher, and I'm kind to other people. No way. There is so much depth and layers to the point that Rabbi Akiva said this is the basis of the whole Torah. Rabbi Hillel Zakeh, when they asked him, said, what is the whole Torah on one foot? He says, what is hateful to you, don't do to another. That is the entire equivalence of the whole Torah. The Hasidic teachings used to say that every single mitzvah, what does it mean as the foundation? Every other mitzvah that you do has to be accompanied with Avat Yisrael, with respect and kindness for another. And that's kind of that joke we said earlier. If a mitzvah is not accompanied with Avat Yisrael, it has no kiyum, it has no lasting foundation. It's not an emes mitzvah. In fact, it says that Avat Hashem, someone once asked one of their Rebbeim, what's more important, love of Hashem or love of the Jewish people, love of another Jew? And he said they're equal, because if you love a father, you love those that he loves. You love his children. But I heard this, my husband shared a story. I have to find a crazy story about Avat Yisrael, about Rabbi Fegelstock, a shliach in Argentina, who walked into a store. I hope I remember the details. It's the craziest story. So basically, to preface that Ahavas Yisrael is the foundation of our entire Torah. It's equivalent to the entire Torah. If we don't have Ahavas Yisrael, we're losing the basis of everything. The Rabbi, the Arizal, says that he added in Tefillah that you, every morning before davening, you commit yourself to loving another Jew as you love yourself, and then your tefillos will be answered. So Hashem's love for us is Hashem's accepting of us is on the premise that we love one another. And that's why we begin our davening with Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvah Taseh Shel V'Ahavta L'Recha Kamocha. Before you start davening, I accept upon myself to love everyone as myself. Before I can even turn to Hashem, I have to love His children first. It's a prerequisite for our tefillah. The Baal Shem Tov says that a neshama comes from a high place and enter this for 70, 80 years, and a neshama spends his entire life in this world to do one favor for another person. That's our purpose for being here, to be there for another. And the story of the Rabbi Fegelstock is he went into this store, and the owner said, I don't serve people like you. We don't serve people like you. And he knew he was a rabbi, and he said he knew it's not because he's a Jew, but because it's because he's a religious Jew. And so he told him that that I don't know, like I'm sorry for whatever the religious people cheated you or lied to you. He said that religious people basically have cheated him or lied to him in the past. He asked him what's been happening, and he said you should know that you are half dati, half religious. Why? Because half of the mitzvos are between us and Hashem. Shabbos kosher, those you don't do, but the other half of the mitzvahs between he started asking questions. He said, are you honest with another person? He said, yes, not like those Jews who cheated me. Do you treat other people with respect? Do you ever lie to another person? Are you always kind? Do you give charity? And he started asking questions. He said, yes, I do all of that. And he said, you should know that you're half dati, because the mitzvahs between you and a fellow person you keep those perfectly, and the ones between you and Hashem, you're not holding there yet. And he said, and you should know also that those Jews who lied and cheated to you are also half dati, because they keep the mitzvahs between them and Hashem, but they don't keep the mitzvahs between you and a fellow man. And it really moved him. And he said to the rabbi, Fegelstock, he said, which one do you think is more important? And he said, for sure, Bein Adam Lamakom is more important, because after you're going to live till a very, very long life, and towards the end of your life, you're going to recognize or feel that you strayed from Hashem, and you're going to ask Hashem to be close to Him again, and you're going to want to come back close to Hashem and do teshuvah, and you're going to ask Hashem to bring you back, and Hashem is going to say, take you back with open arms, and you'll come back and you'll be a complete Jew. And the other Jews, they're also going to live a very long and healthy life, and towards the end of their life, they're going to realize that they erred in not keeping the mitzvahs ben adam lamakom properly, and they're going to come before Hashem and ask Hashem to take them back, and Hashem is going to say, I can't. You first have to go back and return all the money that you stole from this person, and you have to find that person, ask for forgiveness, and apologize, and get their forgiveness first. So I can't forgive you. So he says, for sure, your haftati is much, much more powerful and strong. Very powerful story. And so there's a lot of stories, but the Rabbi Kiva says, that it's the core mitzvah and foundation of the entire Torah. And that's really connected to the whole of Kedoshim Tiyu. Kedoshim Tiyu is that same call. What is Kedoshim Tiyu? The Rambam says that beyond the checklist of the mitzvos, first of all, relationship with Hashem, doing the mitzvos so often can become a checklist of what I do or don't do. Like, okay, I did this and this, so I'm a religious Jew. And we're not in a religion, we're in a relationship with Hashem. A relationship is not a checklist. Okay, so I did this and this and this, so I'm good, bye. A relationship is, I want to do as much as I can out of my love for you. A good relationship is, I don't want to just do the minimum and just like feed you so you don't starve. I want to make you something that you love. I want to go out of my way to show you my love for you. And that's what it is with Hashem. Kedoshim Tiyu means to sanctify yourself with beyond the letter of the law. And that's what like a chassid actually means. Pious means going beyond the letter of the law. It means out of my love for Hashem, I don't want to just do the bare minimum. I want to do as much as possible in my overwhelming love for you. And so there's all the things that the Torah discusses, the mitzvos, what you can and can't do, but then there's the rest of my life, the majority of my life, the reshut, the permissive things. What do I do with those things? And that's what the Kedoshim Tiyu means. Kadesh atzmecha b'mutar lach. Sanctify yourself with that which is permitted. In this space of permissive things, you're not breaking any laws if you just indulge and use all the permissive things. You're allowed to have all of the permissive things as much as you want. But Kedoshim Tiyu is a mandate to use them not just for personal indulgence, but not just to indulge personally, but to elevate the holiness in every single object, like we just mentioned earlier. And that's really the essence of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. That's to do every mitzvah with love, that I'm not just keeping the mitzvahs, but I'm considerate beyond that. I'm affecting my midos. I'm being a kind and caring and generous and aware and sensitive person in every single thing that I do. Okay, I'm going to skip this part. Okay, so Ahavas Yisrael, it's way more than just be nice, be kind. What is the mitzvah of Yisrael? Be nice to everyone. Way more than that. There's infinite depth and layers to this, and I'm going to go through them. On the first layer or level, the beginning of Ahavas Yisrael is, and this is like way deeper. What is Ahavas Yisrael at its core? The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the core of the Tanya, chapter 32, which is Lamed Bet, Lev. He says that how do we have Ahavas Yisrael? How could you love every single Jew like kamocha, like you love yourself? What about, not everyone's easy to love. And he says the way you love every person is by focusing on the inherent oneness and the spark of holiness in every person. When we realize that our bodies are what separate us, but at the core, a Jew is a soul, and we go to the source of our oneness, that we all come from the same source. And we can look at the neshama of this person. We can come to love every single person for that beauty and the holiness. We focus on the holiness and the beauty and the potential and the light inside of the person rather than their baggage or their bad day or their worst day or their worst moment or what they may have gone through in that moment. And also loving, and in that space, it's I love you because you're Hashem's child. And I can't love Hashem I can't, you don't love someone. Imagine someone saying to someone, I love you, but I hate your kids, right? Your kids you don't love me then, because if you love me, you would love who I love. And so one level, it's loving every single person by focusing on the beauty inside of that person. The Baal Shem Tov says that Ahavas Yisrael you should pursue it. It's not something that you just wait until someone asks you a favor. You should pursue it like a business endeavor. You should search for opportunities to be kind, because that is why you're here in this world. Search for people who you can be kind to, and it's really hard. Now, level 2, the next level is, what about the people, right? A lot of times I feel like I have so much Ahavas Yisrael. I'm nice to everyone. I'm such a good friend. It's easy to be nice to people who are grateful, who are appreciative, like most of the people in this community, right? Everyone's so nice and appreciative, and they're such great people, and I'm such a good friend, and I'm so nice to my friends, and I'm always there for them, and I'll visit them. But what about the people who are really hard to love and difficult to love? They're ungrateful, they're rude, they reject, they push away, they trigger me, they're obnoxious, right? They're they're really, really unkind, or even sometimes my own family members on their worst day. That's what Ahavas Yisrael is for. But and I heard this beautiful teaching from Rabbi Shneur Ashkenazi that the word L're'acha means, who should you love? Your Re'acha sounds like I love my friends, love my friends like myself. He's like, no, L're'acha means L'rasha b'cha, those who are bad to you. L'ra, they're the lowest people. In fact, in the source, I brought this source that the Maggid would constantly say, the Maggid of Mezrich would say over and over again, do you hear what they're saying in the Heavenly Academy? That to love your fellow Jew means to love the completely wicked as much as you love the biggest tzaddik. The same exact way. And that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe, by the way, Lubavitch means Lev, the city, the town of love. So it's funny because Chabad means intellect, but Lubavitchers are lovers, because the point of the intellect, of knowing the greatness of Hashem, of knowing that everything comes from Hashem, is to love those that Hashem loves. And that's what it would happen to be the town that the Chabad started in, but it's not by accident, the Rebbe said. Mm-hmm. We are here to remember that the whole Rebbe's whole life was loving every Jew equally. I heard the most insane stories. There was a Chabad man in the army, and there was only 6 religious people in his base many, many years ago. And he asked to take the food. He asked them, let's take the food from this Friday night, because there's no Shabbos Avirah. They would have concerts Friday night and bring it to our tent, and we would have Shabbos there. The commander walked in and said, what are you doing? And he said, we're making Shabbos. He said, I want everyone to have this. I want you to come make Kiddush for everyone. So anyways, he did, and the story is much longer than that. And he wrote to the Rebbe that there was 300 secular Jews and 6 religious Jews. And the Rebbe erased it and said, there's no such thing as a secular Jew. What do you mean a secular Jew? If we look at Judaism as a religion, then there's Jews who are more religious or less religious, or more Jewish and less Jewish. Judaism is not, I wrote this down because it was such a beautiful idea. Judaism is we're not a religion. We are one soul. We are one single soul radiating into many bodies, each ray shining forth in its unique mission, each body receiving the light according to its capacity. This is the words of Rabbi Tzvi Freeman. Each body receiving the light according to its capacity, each embodiment playing its crucial role. Together we compose a symphony with no redundant parts, no instrument more vital than another, and our path back towards the original source of light is through every other ray that extends from it. I just can say this all day. It is the deepest idea of Ahavat Yisrael. We're not a religion where you're more religious. I am a soul. We are one entity. Every neshama is exactly as Jewish as another one. There's no soul who is more religious. I don't see you as more religious. He said, tell every single one of them, the equally Jewish people. The Rebbe sent him to go to every 300 people, one of the 300 soldiers in his unit, and thank them and bless them for what they're doing for Am Yisrael, and to give them brachos. And he said, the Frierdiker Rebbe, we didn't believe in religious or non-religious. The Rebbe totally took that out of the vocabulary. We don't look at a Jew as more Jewish because you're keeping more mitzvos than another Jew. You're connected to Hashem, and we're part of one organism. It's not like you're more of my body part than you are, right? We are one unit, we're one body. And so I don't say, you're very much part of my body, and this limb is less important. I need every limb, and all my limbs are equally vital to my life. They're all me. They're all part of me as one. They're the same organism. It is such a powerful idea, and that's truly how the Rebbe looked at every single Jew as a diamond. When someone once asked the Rebbe how he stands on his feet giving out dollars for 10 hours a day every Sunday, and he said, you don't get tired. This old woman blurted out, Rebbe, don't you get tired? And he said, you don't get tired when you're counting diamonds. Every soul to the Rebbe, no matter who they were, was a diamond and a treasure, and he empowered us and expected of us to be his ambassadors, to truly look at every single person, specifically the ones who are the hardest to love as a neshama. When the Rebbe saw someone who was one of the things in this week's parsha is that about Sur Meirav Aseh Tov. We begin with Kedoshim to you. Why should you keep all these mandates? Because you inherently are holy. And we learn in Chazal say Sur Meirav first comes turning away from bad, and then Aseh Tov, and then bring good. And it's a mistake, the Rebbe said, to begin with we should begin maybe with threats of if you don't Sur Meirav, if you don't keep the Torah mitzvos, bad things will happen to you, doomsday, right? Hell, Gehenna. And the Rebbe's no, we start with, what does the Torah start with? Kedoshim to you. Why should you keep them? Not because bad things will happen to you, because of your inherent holiness, your inherent goodness. You are inherently holy, and you're inherently a piece of Hashem, and therefore you should keep that's why all these mitzvos are relevant to you, and that's why you should keep all these mitzvos. And the Rebbe totally ignored the bad in another person. When that story I've repeated about the boy who was lying, there was a boy who was a really a bad boy who was kicked out, who came to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would tell the Rebbe, and he said to the boy, do you listen to your mother? No. Do you like going to school? No. Do you like playing with friends? No. Do you like learning Torah? No. And he looked at the mother and he smiled and he said, Emes is a gute Zach. Honesty is a good trait. He said, Emes is a gute Zach. Isn't that beautiful? The Rebbe didn't even see the negative. And he taught us that, he said, let's look at Sur Meira V'asei Tov and reread it. The way to Sur Meira, the way to get rid of the bad is through V'asei Tov, is through focusing on the positivity. And this is like a parenting hack that I used to do, and I forgot about it until I read this again, that one of my sons was a big troublemaker. And if you focus, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, right? It's much more effective in this one, I think Dr. Becky said this, to just wait till they do one thing positive and say, wow, you're amazing. Look how you said the MS, or you did the right thing, or you just cleaned up. Make a huge deal of the positive, and the negative will dissolve on its own. And Rabbi said he literally didn't even focus on the negative of another person. He didn't focus on it at all. He didn't talk about it. There was a Chabad rabbis who would do night with Chabad in kibbutzim in Israel many, many, many years ago, and they would sing and dance, and people said oh, you're ignoring all the bad things that they do. You should tell them that they should keep Torah mitzvos in the kibbutz. And he told the Rebbe about this, and the Rebbe said, what? Like the Rebbe is no, that's we do asay tov, we increase in light and positivity. We don't engage in the bad. He said they're not coming to you to judge them. They're not coming here to tell you what they did wrong. They're coming to you to show what you can offer them. So offer them light and love. Don't look at the negativity. The Rebbe didn't even see the negativity in another child. He saw this negativity and he's like, oh wow, they're honest. That's the light we have to look at another person. So we see someone, and that's one of the other mitzvahs, or the most important mitzvah, one of the fundamental mitzvahs in this week's parsha is b'tzedek tishpot amitecha. Now, the Gemara says there's two meanings of this mitzvah. There's two opinions what this mitzvah means. But tzedek, with right justice, with tzadikut, to the victoriousness, like litztok badin, or as a tzaddik. Tishbot, you should judge amitecha, your friend. One place it says that a judge should judge righteously, not have a bias towards another. And another level, the Gemara says it means every one of us has to judge another person b'tzedek, for the positivity. And Chassidut says we have to judge every other person as a tzaddik. We have to look at every person as a tzaddik that they are. That kedoshim to you, that maybe they're sinning, maybe they're doing the wrong thing right now, but that's not their essence. That's their, I heard this pasuk in Yeshaya, and I don't know, it says something, Hashem will remove the tsoa of Benot Zion. Hashem will remove the filth, the human feces off of the daughters of Zion. Why is it that, mashal? Because to someone else who's not a parent, when there's feces on a kid, you're like, ew, take this kid and get him out of here. To the mother, she's kissing him as she's changing their diaper, and she's just removing it, because to her, she's like, this is not you. You're my loving child. This is just something on you. So I'm just throwing it out. I'm just going to change the diaper and throw it out. To another person, it's like gross, right? Like, get this kid out of here. Go change him. And that's how Hashem looks at our filth, and that's how we look at another person who did the worst things. How do we love someone who was obnoxious, who's the worst version of themselves, who's yelling you, who's ungrateful, who did the worst Aveiro? You don't look at it as their essence. You look at it as just something that has to be just removed, and that's not who they are. They're Hashem's beloved child who has some filth on them that has to just be taken off, but they're still the same beloved child. And that's the eyes that we have to look at every single Jew. And those Jews who are the most difficult ones, who are the most hard to love, who are not grateful and not thankful and pushing you away and rejecting you and really difficult to even be around them, that we want to just avoid, those are the ones who need our love the most. That's what it means by have to l'reacha, l'ra shebecha, l'raya shelcha, the ones who are harming you, the ones who are doing bad to you, that's who you have to love. That's what Av Yisrael extends to. You don't need a mitzvah to love people that it's nice to love, right? Kind people are kind. It's easy to be kind. You need a mitzvah to love those who are harming you. How do you respond as Jews to those who are harming you? With even more love. Because we understand the mitzvah of don't judge a person. Ad shetagilam komo. Al tishbot, don't judge. Al tadin, Chazal say Masechet Avot. Al tadin et chavercha ad shetagilam komo. Don't judge a person until you've reached his place. Until you're in his place with all of his struggles and all of the things that happened to him. You'll never be able to judge him. You cannot judge him. We should judge. We always judge. But how do we judge, right? I love that. I was saying in this class that we can't avoid judging because we're judging people. But how to judge judging another person is inevitable, but how we judge is not. We can judge a person. That famous story of Seven Colby from Seven Habits, right? Where he was on a subway and the woman sees this kids acting insane and the father's just ignoring them and pretending they're not there. And she finally says, "Sir, control your children." And he says, "I'm so sorry. Their mother just passed away. We just came back from the hospital." Oh, and you're right. I should really get them under control. We should judge every person as we don't know their whole situation. And so the people acting out the most are usually hurting the most. Hurt people. And so when someone is doing wrong to you, we should even be able to hopefully elevate ourselves to the highest space. And it's not just a stranger, it's in our homes as well. When our kid comes home screaming at us, you're bored, I'm never going back to school, give me food, right? Instinctually, I'm like, you're be nice, right? But in a deeper level, I should be like, well, what happened today? How bad was your day? Or what happened to you to make you act this way? This is so out of character. You're kadosh, you're precious, you're holy. If you're acting this way, something must have happened to trigger this. How can I help you? How can I love on you right now? Imagine we can be in that space of loving a Jew the way. Imagine our spouse comes home frustrated and complaining, and we can look at them and say, wow, you must have had a really hard day, right? What happened about your day? Tell me what's going on. Imagine the beauty in this world if we can live in that way, in the way of Geula, which is to see the essence of what is going on. So going back, we're going to end with Ahavat Yisrael. So there's levels. So one level, Ahavat Yisrael is way more. It's loving those. How do we love the hardest? This is, again, level 2. Or the deeper level is how can we love someone who is so difficult to love? We said a lot of things. One more thing is that Rebbe says, kamocha, le'after lacha, kamocha. How can you love a person, le'reacha, that's bad to you? Because the way you love yourself. We are our biggest self-critic, at least I am. I know all my faults. I know more things about me than anyone knows. I know the worst things about me, and somehow I can love myself. I also am the person who loves myself the most. And so I always saw it as the same way Abba mechases apshaim. It says that love blinds you to anything negative. When a new couple is in love, you can say all the red flags and she sees nothing or he sees nothing, right? Because they're in love, they're infatuated. And the same way love, it says mechases kol apshaim, covers up all the blindness. I think with ourselves, we see the blindness. I know my faults. I know everything wrong with me, and I can still love myself, treat myself nicely. I don't ignore myself and avoid myself. I can do all the nice things I need to do to myself. I can make excuses for everything because I understand why I'm doing that and my reasons for it. And he says that's how you love another person who's doing bad to you. Because the same way that you can be your biggest critic and see all of your flaws and love yourself nonetheless and make excuses for it, that's how you should love another person. You should look at them at their worst self and make excuses for them. And out of your deep love for their inherent goodness and great and oneness and essential holiness and their kedusha of their soul, you should be able to make excuses for them and love them the same way you love yourself. Say, the same way I make excuses for myself, I can make excuses for them. And imagine we can do that with those closest to us, our relatives, our in-laws, right? If I was doing that, if I was having my worst day and about not judging, one of the tips of how to not judge another person is we often automatically say the worst intent to another person. If someone did something rude to me, they wanted to hurt me, they're the worst person in the world. But I should give them the same grace that I should always assuming that they had the best intentions. Because how many times did I by mistake hurt someone? Someone says, you really hurt my feelings, you did this thing to upset me. And I'm shocked. I had no intention of hurting them. I'm like, what? I had no idea. I missed this simcha, I forgot to message. I never meant to hurt you, but when someone does it to me, I'm like, they're the worst person ever. They don't care. They don't love me. They're rude. They're selfish, right? When it's me, I'm like, I never had any intention. And so we want to judge them like you love yourself. The same way that you know that you had the best intentions. When someone does something to you, give them that same grace of they assume that they are a good person, right? This is a good person. That's why you're hurt. But they, of course, didn't mean anything wrong. They either had a hard day or they didn't mean it that way or they totally meant something else and you didn't understand. And if you come to them with that assumption, rather than saying you're the worst person ever, it puts them in a corner. Imagine you come to them and say, I know you for sure had the best intentions, but this really hurt me. Then you're seeing the best in them and they're so much more open. They're like, yeah, you're right. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm so sorry. It's so much easier for them to apologize when you come to them and assuming the best. So one of the best ways to overcome that is by assuming the best intention for everyone else, for anything bad directed to you. Assuming that the same way that you hurt people unintentionally, probably a lot, even if you screamed at your child, did you hate them? Are they the worst person ever? No, you just had a low moment. You were triggered, right? Assume that even the person at their lowest moment, make excuses for them. Say, I'm sure that they meant the best and they had the best kavanot. And there's a story from the Gemara, I didn't print it, the craziest story, where a person worked very, very hard and he went to his employer in the fields and he asked for his wages and he said, I don't have any money to give you. He said, so give me fruit, produce. I have nothing. He said, give me quilts. I don't have any. And he wouldn't give him a thing. And he came back to his family empty-handed. And after the Shabbos ended, or Chag, after working for a long time, he got nothing. The boss came with 3 donkeys filled with his wages, with fruit, with quilts, with everything that he had. And he said to him, what did you think when I told you that I don't have money to pay you? He said that you or that you, he gave excuse for things, said that you lent it to someone. What do you think when I said I have no property to give you, that you had to rent it to someone? What do you think when I said I have not one fruit to give you when you've been picking fruit all day, that you made it hektish, that you sanctified it for the Beit HaMikdash so I couldn't take it? And what do you think when I had no quilts, that you also made all your property hektish? He said that's exactly what happened. He said everything was rented. I had sanctified all of my objects for the Beit HaMikdash for that my son Hyrcanus for something he did. I have to look in the Gemara, and every single thing is exactly right. And he came with all of the things. He said, thank you. And he praised him for being able to judge favorably. Imagine he was able to think of the best excuse he can for everything. And that's how we should be able to look at another person. That was totally off tangent, but I thought it was such a powerful idea. So the level of kamocha is that I could make excuses for another person. For our own kids even, like when our own kids when someone else's kids are acting out, like who raised that kid? And we're so blind to our own children. When our own children are acting out, we make excuses. We're like, oh, I'm lazy, or I'm tired, right? It's so easy, and we should extend that kamocha to another person. And then last level, or the highest ultimate level of Avas Yisrael, the Rabbi says, and I love this, I just heard it for the first time, is that even greater than Avat Yisrael is Achdut. What is that? The Rabbi said, Avat Yisrael is I love him, right? Because I love a fellow. Achdus is I love him because he is kamocha, because he is one, because we're one and the same. I don't love another. I love us because we are this. Our neshamos come from the exact same place, from the source of souls. At our source, we are all one. I can sense the deep brotherhood and unity between me and you're my sister, you're my brother, you're my other hand. What you do affects me. We are literally one organism. When one Jew does an Aveira somewhere, doesn't keep Shabbat, we're all doing that Aveira together. And when that same Jew puts his arm out to put on tefillin, we're all putting our arm out to put on tefillin. When our spouse is doing a mitzvah, it's affecting us, which is why we don't have to do the same mitzvah. And when we're lighting Shabbat candles, their neshama they're lighting Shabbat candles at the same time. We are literally one. We can tap into that frequency of recognizing how one we are, how your pain is my pain, your joy is my joy. It's not even like I'm loving Lereacha, a friend. It's Achdus. I'm recognizing the oneness. That's what it is. I love my brother because he is you and he is a part of you. That's what the deepest kamocha is. I love our inherent oneness. So I love him because we are literally one unit. I bless. If there's any unfinished thoughts, let me know. I'll end with this thought. The last in Vayikra Yotes, Pasuk 16. So I guess that's Tet Zayin, Tet Vav. Lo tamod al dam re'echa. Bye. Thanks for coming. Not to stand on your fellow's blood. Rashi there says, lo tamod al re'echa, right? Don't stand upon your fellow's blood. What does that mean? Why would someone stand on the blood of another person? And Rashi says, what does it mean? Standing on the blood of another person is lirot b'mitzaso. You're seeing his death. V'ata yachol lahatzilo. You could save him. And you could have saved him. Kagon tovea benar, like someone who's drowning in a river. V'chayo listim b'alav, or wild animals are coming upon him and you didn't do anything to help him. And there's this crazy teaching of Chassidut that says that, what does that mean? How could you fight off wild animals? Who says? And he says, the fact, liros b'misaso, the fact that you're seeing this happen, Hashem made you see it, v'ata yachol asil, means that you could save him, that you have the capacity to save him. Because there's no such thing as a tourist in Hashem's world. There's only local residents. There's no fans in bleachers, only players on the field. There's no audience, just actors. We're never a spectator in this world. You're an active participant. And so if Hashem made you see something, it's never just to observe it. There's a reason that you saw it and someone else didn't see it. If Hashem made you see anyone in trouble, anyone that came to your attention that they needed help, the fact that you saw it means that there's something you can do to help them. And that there is an active reason that you saw it. If you see the negative in someone else, it's the Rabbi Shem Tov says it's a mirror to yourself. It means to look deeper inside of yourself. If you see somebody going through something, that means you could save them. And so like he says, it's not because you're more sensitive that you noticed it, because there's other things that someone else will notice that you won't notice. But if you saw it, it means that you can and must try and help in some way. And that's what it means to pursue. And otherwise, you're considered standing on their blood. You stood idly by when someone was suffering. And again, I love the teaching of Batya, that you don't have to save the person completely, right? You're not responsible for the life, what ends up happening. You're responsible to extend your arm as far as it goes. And the miracle of how that person will be saved is from Hashem. But our job is just to extend myself the furthest I can go. And Hashem will do the rest. The responsibility of saving the soul is on Hashem. The outcome is on Hashem. But me extending myself, reaching out, and doing as much as I can is on me. If I saw it, I need to do something about it. I daven that we can internalize these messages, that we can see the inherent godliness in every other person, that we could feel the unity amongst us and the oneness between us, and that only truly with the oneness between us can the Shekhinah come. And so the prerequisite to all mitzvos is that unity, that we can extend our love and compassion to others, to ourselves, and live in an era where we really see and feel that oneness and unity. Thank you so much for joining. See you next week. If you want to sponsor a shiur, any amount is wonderful. And if you enjoyed this, share it with your friends and family. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.